Well, hello, folks out there in YouTube land. Got a very interesting show lined up for you. Oh, yeah, Harbaugh's big hearing is coming tomorrow, and here comes the judge. And Eli Drinkwitz is running his jaw like you cannot believe. He won his Super Bowl, and he cannot shut up about it. We're going to get into all that stuff. But let's start out with the Michigan saga.
Now for the next 30 minutes, as the world turns.
And talk about Jim Harbaugh. And this is on ESPN. Talks about the Big Ten hearing, which is tomorrow, and it's in Ann Arbor, which is an ideal place for Jim Harbaugh to have that hearing. It's at 9 a.m. when the judge is going to hear his plea to effectively eliminate the remainder of a 3-game suspension handed down by Petitti. His lawyers will be there, Big Ten will be there, and Judge Connors and 6 full rows of onlookers. Harbaugh said he'd like a chance to speak at the hearing, but didn't know if that would be possible. And I have a pretty good idea what he's going to say when if he does speak.
It's got to be America's team. It's got to be America's team. America loves a team.
Oh, yeah, he's definitely going to bring up that it's America's team. And then he's going to follow it up with this.
But we're not going to sit here and listen to you bad-mouth the United States of America. Gentlemen!
Yep. So he may just march out of there. But he has a judge that I think might be a little bit leaning his direction. We'll talk about him in a minute. The injunction hearing can also include witnesses, etc. It says if there's a dispute about the facts. And the conference will have a similar opportunity to present arguments. And this is by Dan Murphy and Pete Thamel, by the way. And it talks about how what the judge is probably going to make his decision on, it'll hinge on the interpretation of the Big Ten's authority to punish the coach.
And you will respect my authority.
Through its sportsmanship policy and how the rule book overlaps NCAA enforcement. And it talks about how the judge has a lot of discretion, according to legal experts, on how he wants the hearing on Friday to unfold and when he'll issue a decision, which you would think he would issue that day. But we'll see. Judges can do what they want. What they've got to do is convince the judge they have a reasonable chance of proving during a trial that Big Ten is ignoring its own rules and doling out a punishment now, and that Harbaugh's absence from the team is irreparable harm to him, the football program, the university, etc. The first part is that Rule 32, which says the NCAA initiates an investigation of a Big Ten school, the conference can decide to hand out additional sanctions. But here's the key: after the NCAA takes action. In this case, the conference learned of the cheating allegations after the NCAA opened an investigation, and Michigan's going to argue that they've gotten ahead of themselves and they threw out the procedure in a rush to punish Harbaugh due to the pressure from other coaches and athletic directors. And the other coaches are furious. They want Harbaugh punished bad. They were screaming at Petitti in a Zoom call, and the athletic directors are under a lot of pressure too, and even the presidents. So there is a lot of pressure to punish Harbaugh, which Petitti did. But what Petitti wrote was that Rule 32 does not exclude him from using a part of the Big Ten rule book, the sportsmanship policy, to issue punishments that he believes wreck the integrity of competition or that it's been compromised, which obviously sign stealing would do that. He wrote that the evidence he saw from NCAA investigators and other members of the conference provided enough information for him to include the in-person scouting operation by Connor Stallions did impact the integrity of competition in the Michigan games. And Connor Stallions, of course, is the guy that orchestrated all this and had like 65 people working for him part-time. And now he's selling used vacuum cleaners for some reason.
I said, don't disturb me, I'm cleaning my room.
Petitti argued it was up to his sole discretion whether to use sportsmanship policy or the slower-moving procedures in Rule 32. Petitti said the language could not be clearer when sportsmanship issues, including the integrity of competition, are implicated by the offensive conduct. It says the commissioner is authorized to use the procedures, even if that offensive conduct also may include a violation of NCAA or conference rules. Michigan will be arguing for a restraining order. The Big Ten sportsmanship policy doesn't give the league the authority to specifically punish Harbaugh. It says the Big Ten commissioner can hold accountable either someone found to have committed an offensive act, which obviously I guess they could have said that Connor did that. Well, he's already resigned, or the institution. And his attorneys will argue Coach Harbaugh is neither. And Petitti wrote that it's not a sanction on Harbaugh, it's a sanction on the university. So a judge can we've seen how political judges can get depending on which side of the table you're on. So this is going to be pretty interesting. Now realize the judge is actually an alum of Michigan. Okay, he went there. He also lectures there. So he's a Michigan man through and through, I'm sure. And he's got to live in Michigan.
Okay.
And on top of that, I'm sure he either plays golf or he socializes with a ton of Michigan people. Do you want to be the guy that rules against the Michigan head coach and keeps him off the sidelines? Do you want to be that guy? That's a very difficult position to be in. Okay, I'm going to be the guy that creaked Michigan, but I'm going to live in Michigan the rest of my life. And he's probably an elected judge. So it's just, I see him slapping an injunction on this thing.
I'll slap an injunction on them so fast it'll make their head spin.
That would be the politically smart thing for him to do. So we'll see how this plays out. But you want to talk about having things stacked in your favor? Michigan's got things in their favor here. So I'm expecting an injunction. We'll see. Judges will surprise you occasionally, but I don't know about this case. The guy's got to live there. And right here you can see where Eli ran up to Josh real quick, gave him a little quick hug, and then said, "We take care of business, Josh." And then he ran off like a little rat. I think you could actually see his tail, because that's what rats do. He had to get in his little shot. So he made a little quick snide remark to Heupel, and then he turned real quick and ran away. So that Drinkwitz, man, I'm telling you, he has a mouth on him. Jeez, does he like to run that jaw. Well, he wasn't done. He's so thrilled after getting boat raced 4 years in a row. You know, Tennessee's kind of had their number, and the last couple of years it was awful. We really whooped them bad. So they got this big victory up there in Missouri, and he is crowing. Woo, is he crowing. And this is in Knox News, and it said, Drinkwitz added a little insult to injury following the game. And he said, "We had some unfinished business from last year. We took care of business. Our defense kicked their ass." Of course, Drinkwitz referred to last season when we boat raced them 66-24, which honestly, they only scored 5 more points their offense as they did last year, but we just didn't score any points. And we're going to fix that. We've got Nico coming in for next year. And that's not solely on Joe, but, you know, we need a guy that fits the system a little better. And here's the thing that gets me. We're not playing him next year, so it's real easy for him to run his mouth. If he was coming up to Neyland, I wonder how much he'd be running that jaw. I really wonder that, because we'd be waiting for him. Let me assure you, after running his mouth like that, we don't forget stuff like that. So if he likes to run his mouth, now I don't know that we're going to end up playing him at all next year. But the following year we will, and it'll probably be in Neyland. And when they come up here, we will remember every word that smart mouth has going. He'd probably better hope somebody hires him away, maybe out to the West Coast or somewhere like that. So anyway, but I thought y'all would enjoy seeing the mouth running that's going on by one Eli Drinkwitz. And, of course, we've got a big game against Georgia Saturday. That's going to be tough. Georgia is so clear-cut the #1 team in the country. They're just whooping up on everybody. They beat Ole Miss badly, and Ole Miss was a top 10 team. So this is going to be a tough-going Saturday, and it seems like Georgia's kind of getting their crap together. So, but they've got to come to Neyland, and we've not lost to Neyland in 2 years. So we could possibly give them a good game. I wouldn't be shocked if that happened, especially if we get 100,000 people yelling and screaming in our direction, which it will be. It'll be sold out, of course. It's a huge game. But I thought we'd cover these stories. And, of course, you know, Eli loves to run that jaw. He's a smart mouth guy. And we'll see what happens with Jim Harbaugh tomorrow. I would expect that judge to rule, and I think he'll get the injunction. Just, like I say, just the politics of it almost demand it. But we'll see. You never know. Like I said, judges sometimes surprise you. And if you like this content, be sure to hit that like button. Lets me know to continue to cover all the NCAA stuff, SEC, my Vols. And, of course, I can't keep my eyes off Michigan. That whole situation with the FBI, who knows what's that whole thing. It's going to get interesting. And if you haven't subscribed, it's on your right, my left. Just hit this little button right here. Is all you got to do. Cost you nothing. It'll help you get my videos. And I'm going to keep on top of that one issue, that whole Michigan thing. It is going to get interesting. And right over here's the most recent video YouTube thinks you'll enjoy. And we'll see you next time on Sports Talk Jay.